Three spine-chilling true tales of unexplained terror when law enforcement was powerless. In the quiet suburbs of Springfield, where kids laughed and neighbors waved, something sinister lurked just beneath the surface. It started with a text, "Keep your children close tonight. There's something lurking." Sarah, a resilient single mother, felt the icy grip of dread wrap around her heart. The message sent shivers down her spine as she locked the doors, trying to reassure herself and her two children. But outside, beneath the flickering porch light, shadows danced ominously, whispering warnings that sent pulse racing and skin crawling. That night, after a grueling shift at the diner, Sarah's thoughts erupted into chaos. Mr. Baker, the charming neighbor, was suddenly the focus of her fears. Whispers about him swirled through neighborhood gossip like leaves caught in the wind. Disappearances seemed to plague the community, each innocent laugh masking a growing despair. Could Mr. Baker, with his too wide smile, really be hiding a darkness so deep? As the evening deepened, the shadows in her yard twisted and elongated. She caught sight of Ben, her 5-year-old, moving towards Mr. Baker's house, dazzled by tales of a magical treehouse. Panic gripped Sarah. "Ben, come back," she shouted, racing to grab him, her heart hammering like a drum against her ribs. The shadowy figure of Mr. Baker loomed on his porch, smiling, yet somehow uninviting. "Come join the fun, little man," he beckoned, and Sarah could feel her stomach churn violently. Before she could react, a chilling sentence echoed in her mind, "Mr. Baker isn't just a neighbor, he's a predator." But when she alerted local law enforcement, they laughed it off, treating her fears as virtually ridiculous. "It's just a misunderstanding," they chuckled, unaware of the darkness creeping into their own neighborhood. Sarah felt alone, isolated in her terror. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That night, with darkness cloaking her familiar surroundings, Sarah decided to investigate the truth, plunging into the eerie quiet. Twisting through darkened streets, the rustling leaves seemed to whisper secrets, each gust of wind urging her on. The street lamps buzzed ominously, flickering like anxious hearts, as she approached Mr. Baker's doorstep. A soft, childlike laugh escaped from within the darkened home, taunting her, a sound innocent yet utterly terrifying. With every step she took, each revelation about Baker's past painted a clearer yet grimmer picture of the man behind the smile. Toys lay strewn across his living room floor, dirted and covered in dust, yet somehow untouched. Her breath caught in her throat. Something was off, grotesquely off. Just as she turned to leave, dread surged as that haunting laugh echoed again. It twisted up into her spine like a snake, paralyzing her. Mr. Baker wasn't just a neighbor, he was a gatekeeper to something far darker than she'd ever imagined. But as shadows loomed ever nearer, seeping into her life, one question clawed at her mind: how does one confront evil disguised as familiarity, especially when it threatens to claim the warmth of her children? The grip of dread still haunted Sarah as she stood frozen on Mr. Baker's doorstep. She strained to listen, desperate to decipher the laughter echoing through the darkened house. It felt almost mocking, a twisted game she had unwittingly stepped into. With her heart racing, she turned and sprinted back to her own home, clutching her keys like a talisman against the encroaching evil. Once inside, she locked every door and peered out through the curtains, hoping to catch a glimpse of her children. They were safe, for now, blissfully unaware of the danger lurking next door. The shadows outside moved like living creatures, slithering beneath the street lamps, mocking her sense of security. After a sleepless night plagued by suffocating silence, dawn broke with an eerie stillness. The sun rose, bathing the neighborhood in an innocent light, but the malevolence lingered from the night before. Sarah's phone buzzed, jolting her thoughts. It was another text, this one from an unknown number. they don't stay children forever. The treehouse is waiting. Her blood ran cold. Could Mr. Baker have sent it? Fueled by dread and fury, Sarah knew she had to confront this. She quickly gathered Ben and her older daughter, Lily, for a trip to the local police station. She frantically recounted everything: the text, the laughter, the toys, and the police's dismissive attitude. Officer Jenkins looked skeptical, but another cop nearby, Officer Reyes, leaned in closer. "It's not the first time someone's raised concerns about him. You're not alone in this." Sarah felt a flicker of hope mixed with fear. They were listening, finally. But then Jenkins snorted. "We can't act on a hunch. You need solid proof, ma'am." As she left, frustration boiled inside her. How could she find proof when every move felt like a trap set by Mr. Baker? Her only option was to dig deeper into his life. The thought of breaking into his house gnawed at her conscience, but it felt necessary. If Mr. Baker truly was a predator, the risk was worth the chance of saving her children. That night, she waited until the world outside fell into slumber, slipping out into the cold, moonlit night once more. Every crack of a branch underfoot startled her, but she pressed on, determined and desperate. She approached the forbidding silhouette of Baker's house, heart in her throat, half expecting the door to creak open at any moment. She made her way around the side, hoping to find a window left unlatched. When she reached the back, the dim glow of a light flickering inside sent a shiver down her spine. Taking a deep breath, she peered through the grimy glass. Inside, the air felt different, thick and suffocating. Furniture was arranged almost like a child's playroom, but the walls were lined with disturbing photographs of missing kids, a grotesque shrine encircling the center of the room. Sarah's heart sank, knotting in her stomach. She staggered backward, reeling from the realization that Mr. Baker was more than she had feared. Suddenly, a sound cut through her panic. The unmistakable creaking of the front door opening echoed in the stillness of the night. She felt her breath hitch as she turned to run, but her legs felt heavy, paralyzed by terror. A scream shattered the darkness, though it wasn't her own. It was one of her children. Panic surged through her veins, igniting adrenaline as the horrifying understanding wrapped around her mind. They weren't just waiting, they were already involved. What had she done to lead them into Baker's twisted world? With each frantic step toward home, the chilling question loomed: had she just condemned her family to lose everything? As she rounded the corner, she saw the flicker of light spilling from her house, like a beacon of hope or a warning. The laughter echoed once more, this time from her own living room, mocking her fragility as she dashed toward the desperate battle to save her children. What awaited her inside was only beginning to unfold. The door stood ajar, a gaping maw inviting her into a nightmare. It creaked as Sarah pushed it open with shaking hands, her heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but her children were inside. They needed her. Gritting her teeth, she stepped over the threshold, the dim light casting eerie shadows across the walls. "Ben! Lily!" she called, her voice trembling. The laughter had stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence that seemed to wrap around her. She moved cautiously down the narrow hallway, the air thick with dread, each creak of the floorboards below her echoing like a sinister whisper. As she reached the living room, a chaotic scene unfurled before her. Toys were scattered everywhere, and the dim glow of the television flickered. Her heart dropped as she spotted the silhouettes of her children, huddled together, eyes wide and unblinking, fixed on the screen. They weren't watching a show, no. The screen was filled with grainy images of Mr. Baker's house interspersed with the faces of children, pale and frightened. "Turn it off!" Sarah shouted, rushing forward. The instant she touched the remote, the room plunged into darkness. "Mommy!" Ben cried, his voice quivering, but the room remained silent, the sudden absence of light intensifying her fear. "Mommy," he shouted. She pressed a finger to her lips, her instincts alerting her to danger. In that dark stillness, a chill washed over her. She could sense it, a presence lurking, watching. Her skin prickled with the knowledge that someone else was there. As she fumbled for her phone to illuminate the room, the laughter suddenly erupted again, echoing throughout the house. It was twisted, haunting, and somehow familiar. "Where is he?" she whispered, panic clawing at her throat. Before her eyes adjusted to the pitch black, the living room door slammed shut, sealing her in with the children. She turned around, her heart racing. "Ben! Lily! We need to go." Moments felt like hours as she searched for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It felt heavy, as if held shut by invisible hands. The laughter drew closer, morphing into voices taunting, mocking, weaving memories. "Look, Mommy, we're playing." Her daughter chimed, her voice blissfully innocent. "Lily, no." Panic erupted. Sarah had lost grasp of the situation. She spun back to her children. "Listen, we have to, don't leave yet," a low voice sneered from the corner, draped in shadows. Sarah's blood turned to ice. It was Mr. Baker, standing there, a dark silhouette with a smile creeping across his face. "Your children want to play a game," he said, his voice thick with malice. "It's so much fun, when they don't know they're playing for their lives." With a throaty laugh, he lunged, the darkness swallowing him whole. "Run!" Sarah screamed, shoving Ben and Lily through the small gap of the door. As they stumbled into the hallway, footsteps pounded behind her. Was it him? Or something worse? Bursting into the night, they scrambled across the yard toward the safety of the streetlight. But as Sarah turned to catch a glimpse of the nightmare behind them, the house stood still as if mocking her, the laughter still echoing in the air. The treehouse loomed in the distance, a place of childhood dreams twisted into a trap. What had she unleashed? As the three huddled together, she felt the presence, a rush of cold air swirling around them. Then the unsettling silence dropped, and her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text notification lit up the dark. "The game has just begun." A horrified gasp escaped her lips. They were not safe yet. What had she awakened? What game was being played in the shadows? They stood frozen, eyes darting around in the darkness, hearts pounding like drums. The streetlight flickered, seeming to fight against the swirling shadows creeping from the house. Sarah felt the weight of dread settling in. It felt as if the world had stopped, waiting for something to happen. "Mommy," Lily whimpered, clutching Ben's hand tightly. "Shoo," Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. "We need to find somewhere safe." She knew they couldn't stay near the house, especially after seeing Mr. Baker. There was something deeply wrong with him. It wasn't just his eyes, cold and empty. It was how they glinted with excitement. "Where do we go?" Ben's eyes filled with tears. "Over there. The treehouse." Sarah pointed toward the creaking structure, a remnant of happier days. It now loomed like a dark sentinel against the night sky. The chill in the air seemed to grip them as they raced towards it. The wooden ladder felt unstable under Sarah's hurried steps. She pulled her children up, glancing back, praying that Mr. Baker wouldn't appear again. As they reached the top, she pushed the trapdoor closed, her breath hitching in her throat. The interior was cramped and shadowy, the wooden walls echoing their soft breaths. "Do you think he saw us?" Ben asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know," Sarah replied, pushing back her own fear. "But we have to stay quiet." Outside, the night air was eerily still, the silence punctuated only by the sound of distant laughter echoing through the woods. It was a cruel reminder that they were not alone. The laughter twisted, rising and falling like a chorus of sinister spirits. "What if he finds us?" Lily whispered, her small body trembling against Sarah. "Then we'll fight, okay?" "We won't let him take us," Sarah said, clenching her fists, trying to steady the tremor in her voice. Just as she began to calm, a sudden thumping sounded from beneath them. Sarah's heart leaped into her throat. The sound grew louder, more urgent, like footsteps racing across the yard, heading for the base of the treehouse. "Mommy!" Ben cried, panic flooding his eyes. "Stay down," Sarah hissed, pressing her body against them, trying to silence their gasps. The thumping stopped. Silence enveloped the treehouse, thick and suffocating. But before she could breathe, a shadow brushed against the wooden slats below. "Are you up there, little ones?" Mr. Baker's voice called, sickly sweet and laced with mockery. "Come on down and play. I promise it will be fun." "Don't move," Sarah mouthed to her children, her own heart pounding in her ears. The darkness seemed to thicken, pressing in as if alive, trying to squeeze the breath from their lungs. But then the trapdoor creaked open, the silhouette of Mr. Baker appearing, framed against the faint moonlight. "Found you," he purred, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "I just want to show you how much fun it can be." The words hung heavy in the air, thick with dread. "No!" Sarah screamed as she lunged forward, but a sudden rush of freezing wind struck her, sending her tumbling back. Ben and Lily screamed together, their innocent voices peeling away into the night like shattered glass. As darkness enveloped the treehouse, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of despair. The twisted laughter grew louder, vibrating through the very wood beneath her. And then, just as quickly as it had begun, the laughter faded into the night, leaving behind an eerie stillness. She held her breath, waiting for something, anything to happen. "Mommy, I can't hold on," Ben shouted as the floorboards beneath them trembled in response to unseen forces. But before Sarah could grasp hold of her children, the treehouse tilted sharply, sending them plummeting into darkness. Falling, until they landed with a heavy thud, shadows swirling around them. "Where are we?" Lily's voice broke the silence, trembling with confusion and fear. Sarah's eyes widened in terror as the ominous reminder of the game played in the shadows loomed over them. And above, the distant laughter whispered sweetly, beckoning them back into the heart of a nightmare. Was this the end of their flight from terror, or was it just the beginning? The darkness felt heavy around them, wrapping tightly like a suffocating blanket. Sarah struggled to regain her breath, the thud of their fall reverberating in her ears. She grasped for her children, panic surging through her veins. "Ben! Lily!" she called, her voice cracking. "Mommy, it's dark." Ben whimpered, his small voice quaking. Fingers brushing against the rough earth, Sarah felt the panic rising inside her. "I'm here. I'm right here," she reassured, trying to steady her shaking hands. But the terror clawed at her mind, gnawing at her sanity. "Where's the treehouse?" Lily's voice was small, filled with confusion. "I don't like this place." "I don't either," Ben added, his lips trembling. Panic drove Sarah to her feet as she surveyed their surroundings, or what little she could see in the pitch-black void. Everything felt wrong. The air stank of dampness and something sickening. A flicker of light appeared ahead, faint and flickering like a dying star in a stormy sky. Sarah felt drawn to it, an unexplainable pull as if it was anchoring her to something less foreboding than this darkness. "Come on, let us go toward the light," she urged, coaxing her kids to follow her. They moved cautiously, each step sending whispers of dread crawling up her spine. The eerie laughter echoed faintly in the distance, a haunting reminder of their grim pursuer. It twisted, melding into the darkness and tickling the edges of her sanity. As they neared the light, it morphed into a weak glow emanating from broken lanterns, casting murky shadows that danced like wraiths. Sarah gasped as her heart sank. What lay before them was a playground, swings hung eerily still, slides twisted into grotesque shapes. This was no ordinary place. "Where are we?" Lily's voice quivered again, fear radiating from her every word. "I don't know," Sarah whispered, dread pooling in her gut. "But we have to keep moving." But as they stepped into the clearing, the lanterns flickered violently, revealing faces etched in pain and horror, ghostly figures frozen in time. Children, lost. "Mommy!" Ben screamed, clutching her leg, eyes wide with terror. Sarah reached down, wrapping her arms protectively around them. "Stay close. We're okay." Then a voice, harsh as rusted metal, slithered through the air. "You shouldn't have come here." It was Mr. Baker, his ominous shadow stretching across the ground, warping like smoke. "You can't leave now, not until you play my game." The surrounding shadows shifted, drawing closer as if ready to swallow them whole. "What game?" Sarah demanded, her heart thundering. His laughter rang out, cold and mocking. "The best part is, you're already playing. Are you having fun yet?" With a sudden flick, the lanterns extinguished, plunging them back into suffocating darkness. The laughter twisted and melded into whispers, enveloping her senses, blending with the pounding of her heart. "Run!" Sarah shouted, urgency slicing through the heavy air, driving her to pull her children with her. But the laughter transformed into cries, pulling at their legs like gnashing teeth. "Mommy, I can't!" Lily cried, her voice drenched in despair. "Hold on!" Sarah gasped, her voice rough and desperate as they struggled against the pull of unseen hands. And then, the ground split open beneath them, the shadows clawing upwards, dragging them further into the abyss, away from the fleeting light. Not the end. Mr. Baker's voice twisted through the air, a dirge echoing around them. "We're just getting started." Down they plunged, deeper into horror. What awaited them in the depths of this nightmare? Sarah's mind raced, desperate for a glimmer of hope or a way out, but the shadows only whispered her name, beckoning her to join the ranks of the lost. Sarah's heart raced as they plummeted through the darkness, the weight of despair crushing her spirit. Every turn felt suffocating, each second stretching into eternity as they were consumed by the abyss. She clutched onto Ben and Lily, their small bodies trembling, relying on her strength to shield them. The shadows engulfed them, a suffocating fog that whispered their names, twisting their fears into a collective nightmare. Sarah could barely breathe as she felt herself and her children falling deeper. The whispers grew louder, gnashing like teeth at the edges of her sanity, a cacophony of lost souls, desperate and hungry. "Mommy. I'm scared." Ben whimpered. "I know, baby, hold on." She squeezed them tighter, an iron grip filled with forced courage. But doubt crept in. What if they never stopped falling? What if they were doomed to join those clawing cries? Suddenly, the descent halted, a jarring stop that sent them sprawling onto cold, damp earth. Sarah blinked, her eyes struggling to adjust to a dark, muted landscape. The air was stale, it suffocated every hope of comfort. She pushed herself to sit up, scanning frantically for her children. "Lily. Ben." She gasped, voice hoarse as panic flared once again. "Right here, Mommy." Ben's voice trembled but was clear, followed by the soft whimper of Lily still nearby. In a flash, Sarah's instinct kicked in, she must find the way out, must keep them safe. "We need to move," she urged, pulling them close. As they stood, the ground beneath them trembled. A muffled noise clawed at their ears, like something heavy shifting underground, a low growl that vibrated in her bones. Then it grew more distinct, the twisted laughter of Mr. Baker, echoing menacingly from above, wrapping around them like an uppercut from the inky darkness. "Finding your way is the fun part, let us see if you can escape." The taunt vibrated through the air, weighing heavily on Sarah's already burdened heart. Was he watching them? Did he know their every move? Goosebumps prickled at Sarah's skin, igniting a desperate fire within her as she stepped cautiously forward, dragging her children behind her. "Mommy, where are we?" Lily's small voice highlighted the bleakness of their situation, a quiver of hope barely surfacing. "Somewhere dark, but we have to keep trying," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the ocean of uncertainty crashing over her. As they ventured into the darkness, the landscape morphed around them, twisted trees erupting from the soil like gnarled fingers. They weaved between them, shadows darting in and out of peripheral vision. But a more sinister presence loomed, watching, waiting. Suddenly, out of the void, a chill ran through the air. A figure emerged, flickering unnaturally like a broken signal. A child, no older than Ben. Pale, with hollow eyes that bore into Sarah's soul, he whispered, "You shouldn't be here. He doesn't like it when people come." Sarah's pulse quickened, dread pooling in her stomach. "What do you mean? How do we get out?" But the child merely shook his head, face twisting, mouth stretching into a silent scream before vanishing back into the shadows, leaving only a cold gust that extinguished the sparks of courage within her. "Mommy!" Ben cried out, fear fracturing his voice. "Stay close." Sarah snapped, the urgency pushed her voice higher, echoing against the semblance of walls surrounding them. They pressed on, each step heavier than the last, as the whispers escalated into a haunting chorus, chanting, "Play, play, play." Nightmarish images flickered in Sarah's mind, memories of laughter, sunlight, her children playing on the treehouse, now overshadowed by relentless dread. Was this the game Mr. Baker had designed for them? A trap woven from their deepest fears? "Mommy, I can't." Lily's voice quaked. Eyes wide, Sarah's anxiety mounted. "We have to. Don't give up." But the shadows twisted around them, coiling like serpents, evoking horror in its wake. Every whisper, every dark breath pushed them further towards the precipice of despair, and then stark, chilling realization hit her. What if this was exactly what he wanted? As they stumbled deeper into the labyrinth of despair, a single question clawed at her mind like those creeping shadows. Would they escape, or would the depths claim them forever? Ahead, something glimmered, a promise of escape or one final trap. The glimmer pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing Sarah closer. Was it hope or another snare from the malevolent mind of Mr. Baker? A part of her, fueled by the relentless whispers, cried for them to run. But the other part, a hollow chasm of dread, paralyzed her. The glimmer was the only light in this swirling dark, and she couldn't turn away. "Mommy, I don't like this. It feels wrong," Lily whimpered, gripping Sarah's shirt tightly. A voice mingled with the shadows, echoing the children's fears. "Forbidden paths lead to wicked endings. Dares lead to despair." It wrapped around them, slithering into her mind. "Don't listen. We can do this," Sarah urged, though her voice quaked. She took a step towards the glimmer, her instincts battling against the sinking weight in her heart. As they moved, the ground turned slick beneath their feet, a mud-like substance that hugged their shoes. Each step felt weighted, as if invisible hands were trying to pull them back. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of taunts and laughter interspersed with chilling screams, mixing in a symphony of terror that chipped away at her resolve. "What is it, Mommy?" Ben asked, eyes wide and flicking back and forth as if he sensed something she couldn't see. "Just stay close," she managed, swallowing hard. Her throat felt dry, scratchy, as fear wrapped around her spirit. The glimmer grew brighter, revealing a pathway illuminated by twisted, jagged rocks. It opened like a mouth, coiling deep into an expanse where shadows slithered like snakes, waiting to devour. With every inch closer they moved, the laughter erupted louder, echoing against unseen walls. "Play the game," it chanted, the tone mocking. "Or stay forever." At that moment, Sarah froze. A shrill wail pierced the air, echoing eerily, followed by silence punctuated by the frantic rasp of her breath. They stood on the edge of a chasm, and in the dim light, a shadowy figure emerged, effortlessly weaving between the massive rock formations. It climbed higher, poking out like a ghoul, skeletal fingers outstretched as if beckoning them. "Join us, join the fun." Its raspy voice crooned. Lily shrieked, "No. I don't want to." Sarah fought against her own panic. "We need to run, now." Gathering her remaining strength, she turned, tugging Lily and Ben away from the chilling sight. But as they turned, the landscape shifted, swaying and pulsating, as if the ground itself were a living entity, opposing their escape. Suddenly, a chilling gust swept past them, carrying with it the scent of decay and like rotted leaves. Every instinct screamed to flee, but the shadows behind them danced hungrily, clawing at their heels. The whispers escalated, rising into a scream that echoed off the rock walls, a terrifying blend of childlike enthusiasm and raw menace. "Play with us!" echoed in mocking harmony. In desperation, Sarah shoved the children ahead of her, determined to shield them from this endless horror. But in her periphery, she noticed a warped reflection among the rocks, a fleeting glimpse of her own face, twisted in anguish, eyes hollowed. Panic surged. "Not like this!" she gasped. "Not like this!" But behind her, the figure laughed, a sound that split the dark, rumbling with twisted joy, and then, as if the shadows had turned against them, the ground caved in. With anguished cries, Sarah flung her arms out for balance, but it was too late. They toppled into the dark hole, plummeting again, arms clutching, fearful yet desperately clinging to one another. As they fell, the last thing she heard was Mr. Baker's voice, sinister and vibrant. "You thought you could escape? The game has just begun." The darkness enveloped them, and a chilling question hung in the air: would they ever see the light again, or were they destined to be part of Baker's twisted game forever? Falling through the darkness felt like an eternity. Time twisted, slowed, and flickered like a dying light bulb. Sarah wrapped her arms tightly around Ben and Lily, their bodies pressed close, a lifeline against the black void that enveloped them. Silence engulfed them until the ground crashed hard beneath them, sending a shockwave of pain through her limbs. Dazed, Sarah blinked against the sudden flicker of a pale light, a ghostly shade hovering just above the ground, illuminating the damp, cold stone around them. The air was thick with a stench of mildew and something sharp, metallic, that clawed at her throat, making her gag. "Mommy?" Ben's panicked voice cut through the disorienting haze. His wide eyes glimmered with fear, reflecting the unsettling glow. I'm here. We're okay." She breathed, finally pushing herself upright to take stock of their surroundings. The space was more cavernous than she expected. Jagged rock walls towered like ancient monoliths, casting monstrous shadows. Mist swirled around them, dancing with the light, each movement a taunt, each thickened sigh a whisper of horror. "What's happening?" Lily whimpered, her small voice trembling. "Just hold on tight," Sarah soothed, though her heart raced. The terror of that ghoul still lingered, its laughter echoing in her ears. The glimmering light grew more intense, beckoning them again, promising to reveal the way, but a chill ran down Sarah's spine. "I don't know if we should follow it." "Mommy, the game," Ben reminded, pointing at the light. "They want us to play." Before she could protest, the light shot forward, swirling like a moth to a flame. The shadows seemed to warp and breathe, pressing in as if the walls themselves were closing in, urging them on. She wanted to resist, to drag them back from whatever this was, but something deep inside clenched, aching with the fear of losing her children. The mist parted, revealing a circle of figures in the distance, their forms indistinct yet wrong, blending together in a grotesque tableau. Eyes blinked from the shadows, reflecting malicious intelligence. "Welcome to the playroom," a voice chimed. This one was smoother, tempting, a seductive whisper wrapped in silk. It came from every direction, surrounding them, an alluring tease. Sarah tugged her children closer. "We can't let them win." But as they edged back, a deeper growl erupted, a low sound like thunder rumbling through the stone. "You can't run. The game has chosen you. You must play if you ever wish to see the light again." With that, the figures shifted, revealing ghastly, distorted faces twisted in grins that sent bile rising in her throat. Each smile was wide and unyielding, devoid of sanity, and the sight of them threatened to crack her already fragile mind. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily cried, tears streaming down her small cheeks. I know, Sarah patted her head but felt her own courage faltering. If those things were here, the game was already in motion. At that moment, a gnarled hand reached out, extending like a spider's leg from the shadows toward Ben. Before she could react, Sarah shoved her son aside and lunged forward, grabbing Lily with every ounce of strength she had. "No!" she screamed as the dark hand retracted, clawing at the empty air they had occupied moments before. It shrieked, a sound that sliced through the air, vibrating against her bones. The figures around them creaked into motion, their laughter rising to a fever pitch. "You are part of the game now. Choose your fate. Will you play? What are we supposed to do?" Sarah screamed back, her voice echoing with rage and fear. Silence fell, an ominous pause, filled with uncertainty. And within that void came the answer, clear as a bell: survival is the game and the only way out is through. Choose wisely. A cold sweat broke out across her brow. Each beat of her heart drummed louder in her ears, drowning out the laughter, the whispers. She stood before her children, choosing their next move carefully. In that moment, she felt the weight of their lives resting on her decision. Suddenly, the voice of Mr. Baker rumbled through the cavern, twisted and malevolent, echoing off the walls. Let the game begin. And as the lights flickered again, an unholy choice loomed before them, straining against the fragile bond of family. Would they be brave enough to risk it all, or were they already trapped in the depths of this wicked game? The air thickened, twisting with dread as the echo of Mr. Baker's voice faded. Sarah felt it wrapping around them, tightening like a noose. She could hardly breathe, every instinct screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. The shadows shifted again, merging into grotesque forms that pulsated with malignant joy. "We have to decide," Ben yelled, his tiny voice shaky, eyes darting between the figures and the light. "Play with us, Sarah," a figure crooned, its eyes widening unnaturally. "Don't you want to save your sweet children?" The word struck like ice, slicing through Sarah's thoughts. Save her children? Or play this twisted game? What do you want from us? She stood firm, body tense, willing to shield them no matter the cost. "Find the key," the voice whispered. "It's a simple game. But will you save your children or will you let them fall into darkness?" Ben clutched her hand, fear bubbling over. "Mommy. Stay close," she commanded, her heart racing. The light pulsed again, brighter, gleaming with an almost hypnotic allure. It beckoned them, promising a way out, but Sarah's instinct clawed back. "Don't trust it," she hissed, feeling the grip of shadows tightening around her legs, pulling her down as if the ground itself hungered for them. The figures lunged forward, their grins warping into malicious glee. Sarah grabbed Lily, lifting her, squeezing her small body against her. "We need to think, we need." Before she could finish, a loud crash echoed through the cavern, the ground trembled as a giant, dark silhouette emerged from the shadows, towering above them like a Goliath. Its eyes glowed with an ember-like fury as it tilted its head, studying them. "Are you ready to play?" "Mommy, what is that?" Ben wailed, plastered to Sarah's side. She could feel the feverish heat radiating from him, panic rising like bile in her throat. "Run!" she yelled, instinct taking over. They dashed toward the flickering light, but she felt the darkness clawing at her, grasping at her clothes, tearing at her flesh. The figures followed, relentless. "You can't escape." Another voice taunted, sharp and brittle, echoing like shattering glass. What would they have to do? What was the game? The light flickered, leading them deeper into the maze. Shadows whispered as they tangled among jagged edges. Every turn felt wrong, the walls seemed to close in, closer. They had to get closer. "Mommy, look!" Lily shrieked, pointing at a rusted door jutting out of the stone. It was hidden in the thick mist, vines creeping over like bandaged fingers. "Perhaps that's it," Sarah breathed, but as they approached, the door swung open with a groan that felt alive. Inside was pitch black, an abyss waiting to swallow them whole. "Are you brave enough?" the figures chanted, their voices a maddening sing-song. "Will you enter the abyss to find what is lost?" "Stay back!" Sarah shouted, gripping her kids like lifelines. Doubt slithered through her confidence. What if the price for safety was worse than the danger itself? The laughter erupted again, echoing louder than before. Time's running out. Will you choose now? No, no. She cried, stepping back as the shadows shifted, forming a tidal wave of darkness, crashing toward them like a monstrous freight train. With a surge of instinct, Sarah dove through the door, pulling Ben and Lily with her, forcing them into the depths of the unknown. The moment they crossed the threshold, the world spiraled into blackness, plunging them into the void. A hot wind billowed around them, hot breath against her tangled hair. And then a deep, guttural growl erupted from the shadows. You're all fools to play, the real game has just begun. In the tumbling darkness, Sarah's heart thundered in her ears. She couldn't see, couldn't think. All she could do was hold on to her children, plunging deeper into the dark mystery that now surrounded them. What horrors awaited on the other side of oblivion? As the world of darkness swirled around them, Sarah's heart raced with an urgency that clawed at her insides. She could feel the cold touch of fear draping over her like a funeral shroud as they tumbled through the void. But deep within the suffocating panic, a flicker of determination ignited. Then, suddenly, the ground solidified beneath them, throwing them roughly onto a damp surface. Sarah gasped for breath, disoriented. Ben? Lily? She whispered, grasping for her children. The darkness around them settled into a thick fog, smothering any semblance of light. Mommy, where are we? Ben's small voice broke through the oppressive silence, quaking with fear. Right here, sweetheart, Sarah replied, pulling him close and wrapping her arms around both her children. We're going to be okay. We have to find a way out. With nothing but a distant echo in the murk, she pushed herself upright. As her eyes adjusted, shapes began unfurling from the shadows, twisted silhouettes, children dressed in ragged clothing, their eyes hollow and filled with a deep sadness. A chill ran through her veins, knowing these were once innocent souls, trapped in this living nightmare. Stop! A voice rang out, sharp and commanding from somewhere ahead. It was neither the ghoul nor Mr. Baker, but something ancient and powerful. You have entered the place of lost things. You must decide. What do you mean? Sarah shouted, her voice trembling but unwavering. We just want to escape. Escape? There are consequences for that choice, the voice intoned darkly. Shadows danced at its edges, twisting and revealing a broad figure cloaked in dark fabric, hovering just above the ground. There's more at stake than you know. For a moment, despair gripped Sarah tight, but she pushed it aside. I want to let my children stay here. Show us the way out, please. She pleaded, desperation filling her heart. A flicker of light pulsed from within her chest, a warmth that ignited her resolve. You choose, face the darkness or reclaim your light. Only one can be chosen. Mommy, I'm scared. Ben whined, squeezing her hand tighter. Listen to my voice, Sarah said, her resolve hardening. We can't let fear win. The figure stepped closer, its features obscured, yet her conviction propelled her forward. We choose the light. She declared firmly. As soon as she spoke, the shadows recoiled, screeches filling the air as if their very presence was unwelcome. The other children's faces twisted in terror, they were hoping for liberation too. Courage can guide you, the voice murmured. But fear will consume you. You must confront him. The man who trapped you? Sarah gasped, fear prickling at her spine. Yes. Rick Baker, the architect of this nightmare, the figure replied, eyes boring into hers. To reclaim your freedom, face him and force him to release you. I'll do it, she resolved, clutching her children tighter. We'll confront him together. Before they could react, a burst of cold air rushed past them, whipping daggers of wind through their hair. A portal opened around them, twisting shadows and light into a chaotic spiral, tugging at her heart. Go! The figure urged as they plunged back into the swirling void, solid ground reappearing beneath them. Sarah felt the sudden force of gravity pulling them down, but her spirit remained unwavering, fueled by the sheer will to see her children safe. The shadows dissipated as they landed with a jarring thud, the grotesque surroundings of Mr. Baker's house rising before them, an ominous silhouette against the bruised sky. "Stay close," she commanded, her voice pitched with urgency. As they rushed toward the door, they found it cracked open, beckoning them like a dark invitation. Their collective breaths hung in the air, thickening with dread, but Sarah steeled her mind. When they stepped over the threshold together, the room awaited them, chilling shadows slinking in the corners. Mr. Baker was there, his mocking grin spreading like a sinister wound across his face. "Well, look who's decided to play release them," Sarah shouted, a newfound courage spilling forth. "Your game ends now." Mr. Baker's laughter echoed, deep and menacing. "You think you can change the rules? Your children are my pawns." "Not anymore," Sarah shouted, bolstered by the other lost children's presence looming in the corner, flickering like candlelight. "I will fight for them." With that, she lunged forward, aware of an ancient power growing in her core. Rays of pure light surged outward from her, brightening the darkness until it disintegrated a mere whisper before her command. "Let them go," she cried again. The shadows howled in protest, twisting around Mr. Baker, trying to shield him. But Sarah pressed on, letting the purity of her love and determination envelop her and her children like armor. With every ounce of strength, she stood firm, and in a blinding flash, the darkness peeled away, revealing the vulnerable truth. Mr. Baker shrieked, the shadows dissipating around him until only he remained, exposed and trembling. "No! What have you done?" he hissed, his veneer cracking as the light poured in, ripping apart his domain. "The game is over," Sarah declared, her voice strong. "You no longer have power over them." And with that, the malevolence diluted before her eyes, swallowed by the light. She felt the shadows lift, the air lightening and brightening with hope as Mr. Baker staggered, defeated. "Let us go home," Sarah said, taking Ben and Lily's hands, her heart swelling. As they turned, the world outside seemed transformed, brighter, filled with vibrant colors of the day. The doorway to darkness faded behind them, their bond stronger than fear could ever shatter. With the sun pouring over them and the shadows of the past retreating, Sarah breathed deeply, radiating gratitude. "We did it," she whispered, pulling her children close. Together, they chorused, their voices mingling with laughter that rang through the air, echoing their victory over the nightmare, and as they embraced, the warmth surrounding them felt like an everlasting promise, a reminder of strength and love prevailing over darkness. Now that you've witnessed this fierce battle against darkness, don't forget to subscribe immediately to catch our next exclusive stories that dive even deeper into the unknown. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, keeping these tales alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this gripping conclusion. And make sure you instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this powerful ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. True fans like you hold the key to making sure these stories continue to live on.